Good morning. It is Wednesday. I'm Keith Tebow from FRC Media, and we check in every Wednesday with the mayor of the city of Fall River, Mayor Paul Coogan, who joins us right now. Mayor, how are you today?
I'm doing fine, Keith. How's things going?
It's going well. Thank you. I appreciate it. I want to start with something that's actually happening tonight. If you're watching this on Wednesday, when we produce our weekly discussion with the mayor, there's going to be some water being shut off on Columbia Street in Fall River for road work, and it's only supposed to take about 8 hours or so. It's going to happen tonight at 9 o'clock. I would assume that all the neighbors in that area, which is Columbia Street between I believe Grant and Fountain, have been notified, and hopefully this will be just a short-term fix that needs to get done.
Yeah, I think the 8 hour window should allow us to complete the work. Like as you said, they're going to be putting door hangers on doors so everybody gets notification. They're chasing a leak down Columbia. They think they found it and they want to make sure they fix it, especially before we head into winter and have you know water in the streets freezing. That would just add to the fun. That's well on its way to Doran Elementary School, and we don't want any of that down there.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously, this is the time of year to do these types of repairs before it gets cold, right? And I'm sure the water department is up on all those little repairs that need to get done between now and then, right?
Yeah, and if they're not, the public lets us know where they are, so we chase them all day long.
That's right. That's what we do, right? In Fall River. I want to get into a topic that we actually haven't spoken about yet. On the election ballot this November, there are four statewide ballot questions, but there's also one local ballot question that has to do with asking city residents whether the city should become a member of the Massachusetts Bay Transportation Authority, or MBTA. This ties into, of course, South Coast Rail, which is scheduled to launch in Fall River late next year. This project has been ongoing for a while. Let me start, Mayor, by asking, I guess, why wasn't this on the ballot sooner?
I really couldn't answer that, Keith. I
Yeah.
think we got late notification on this. I don't know if there was an assumption that we were just going to be automatically put in, or something fell through the cracks. But it's probably a combination of everything, and could have been on the ballot last year when I was up. We had a nice city election then, but it's now, and we're going to make our best effort to get it passed this November.
Yeah. There's been a lot of talk, a lot of it on social media about, what's the obligation of the city when it becomes a member of the MBTA. And a lot of it has to do with whether the city's going to have to pay anything to become a member of the MBTA. I know you've talked about this on other venues, that it's your understanding, and I believe you've gotten confirmation from the MBTA, that in terms of any cost of membership, there isn't any at this time, correct?
Correct. And as you said, the social media are just the people that type the hardest. Some of these people, I think the vast majority of people, I was at a neighborhood meeting the other night, and people are definitely for connecting to Boston with the railroad system. If you look at what we've done, I looked at some numbers the other day. We always paid into Serta, the Regional Transit Authority, and we never heard a squeak about that. We're paying, if you go back to 2016, I think it was $990,000, which is just under $1 million we were paying in 2016. That was our contribution. Now it's up to like 1.4 million. I've never heard a squeak or a word or anything about our contribution going up $500,000 or $450,000 in the last 10 years. But that money that we've been spending right along has always gone into a regional transit authority bucket. So we've been paying 1.4 million for Serta. Now we're going to pay 1.4 million and get Serta and the MBTA. So our assessment is like, I think, $600,000, but it's already well covered in the 1.4 million. I don't see how we're ever going to get to a position where we have to pay an assessment. We pay our RTA assessment. It goes up 2.5% every year, and that's where we are. I mean, we're already paying. I think the assessment targets towns that don't have a bus system like Fall River does, or a regional bus system like Fall River, New Bedford does, but they look for communities like that to make them throw into the hat. We do throw in. We've put our money in for years and years and years, and it's not going to be any increase to the people in Fall River.
Yeah. So let me ask you, in terms of even the Serta payment. And again, this is a conversation we probably should have had a long time ago about how this works. Is it based on ridership, the number of people who use it, city size? How does that work in terms of
Yeah,
how
there's a
you
formula
pay
based,
Serta?
I think it's on population, economics. I looked at the formula the other day, Keith, and it was mostly one of the same kind of formulas they use for anything that they assess, um, especially gateway communities for. And we did check all the boxes. So, you know, it's something, like I said, we've been doing this for as long as I know, and I've never heard one person go down and say, let's stop paying money into the regional transit funds. I've never heard this. And now, because Fall River's gaining a train, some people who sit at the keyboard think that this is the way to go. I don't understand it for the life of me. If they were so concerned about a regional transit fund that we're going to have to pay into, why weren't they saying something for the last decade?
Yeah. So in terms of moving forward, there's been a lot in the news coming out of the Boston area that the MBTA is having some budget issues. It'll probably be in a significant deficit potentially next year. Is there any concern that the MBTA can it assess its communities a higher fee to help offset that when the time comes? Obviously, we don't know if that's going to happen, but is that a possibility?
I don't see that happening. I mean, this is commuter rail. That's the MBTA. You're talking a subway and a city link up there that almost entirely feeds into Boston. This commuter rail going to Attleboro, Fall River, or New Bedford. Those are almost like standalone lines. Um, you know, the money going into transportation right now to get cars off the street, to reduce climate damage is breathtaking. And I think that that's where we're looking. If you look at what's going to happen in Fall River, we're going to be able to get on a train and go to Boston. A friend of mine went up the other day to a Red Sox game. He paid $65 to park the car. And what did he spend on gas? $25. So before he got a ticket or a hot dog or a soda or anything, he had already been getting up close to $100. So this takes cars off the road. It's the push of the future to get people to use mass transportation. Um, it's win-win for the city of Fall River. We've had a number of people working on this for a long time, whether they're painters, electricians, engineers. It's money into the economy, and it's jobs for our residents. And I'm really hard pressed to see why, other than distorting stories and things like that, why Fall River is going to lose with something like this.
All right, one final question on this before we move on. What were to happen if the city were to vote no?
Well, the city's not going to vote no. I mean, this group of people that's out there pushing the no vote. I've done battle with them a number of elections. They're out there. It's the same group that's going to recall me. It's the same group that wants to sue the city. These are people that aren't engaged in the regular day in, day out government. They're making their position heard, as they should. I support their right to say whatever they want, but this question is going to pass. And yeah, I don't look at what's going to happen if it doesn't pass, because I believe the residents of Fall River want to support mass transit. And I think, as we've been doing it for the last 10 years, they have no reason to not welcome the trains to the city of Fall River.
All right. And finally, this week, this Friday, the 30th is the deadline. We've touched upon this a couple of times. The city is in the process of updating its website and looking for entries on a new city logo. I asked you this before. There's only a few days left. Have you seen some of the entries? And the deadline is this Friday. So how
Yeah,
are we looking?
there's been some great entries. I'm amazed every time I look at the entries where they're coming from. Some of them, we got one from Indonesia the other day, Kentucky. A lot of these graphic artists or these graphic designers have been sending in their entries. Of course, we have a very strong contingent of entries from the city of Fall River. I was in, I think it was Green School last week, and the kids were, when I walked in, they were doing their entry for the city logo. So it's good to see people, rallying around it and getting these entries in so we can pick the best one. Of course, my choice is going to be to get somebody from Fall River, but at the same time, we want something that shows, Fall River moving forward is is recognizable and makes the city have an identity that people are going to be proud of.
Yeah, I know there'll be a committee that will look and judge the logos and make a recommendation. But will there be opportunity for the community to kind of see the entries, to see the creativity that was out there?
Yeah, we talked about that a little bit. I think I don't have a problem with that. I think, when the people that are helping us to make the selections get done with where they're going, they're going to narrow the field down to 3 or 5. But putting all the entries up, I don't have a problem with that. I think maybe that's how we do it. Let everybody see what we focused on, and then again, of course, people say, "Well, I like this one better. Or I like that." And that's fine.
Right.
But that's what every choice is. Whatever kind of ice cream people get at a creamery, it's up to them.
Yeah, even though I have zero talent, I am sort of a graphics nerd, and I love to see, all the concepts that would come in. And I know I would love to see what some of the kids were doing in the schools. I think because
Well,
those, that would be just great to see.
I want you to know, Keith, that my heart just jumped up to my throat because I thought you were going to tell me you were submitting one. And then if
Oh
you
God,
won
no.
in Fall River, you do understand that would have been the fix was in. They were friends. They do a TV show. We both would have been excoriated, and it would have, neither one of us would have had a fighting chance because
Well,
that's
my level of graphical experience is maybe I can make an accurate stick figure. That's about it. That's my level
I
of
have the
of
ability to draw a straight line with a ruler.
that.
That's my
Yeah,
skill.
yeah. Every now and then. All right, Mayor Paul Coogan, as always, thank you for your time. We'll talk next week.
Oh, thanks, Keith. Appreciate it.
All right, and thank you for joining us here on FRC Media. I'm Keith Tebow. Have a great week.